as we become more aware of our consumption's impact on the environment, many of us are choosing to invest in pre-owned rather than buying new. But you know what? Even if you're just into scoring deals or into antiques, our city has an overwhelming amount of good thrift and vintage stores. So many, in fact, that it can be hard knowing where to start. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking to Jay Flewelling. He's a self-proclaimed thrift store junkie and a local comedian. He's going to be sharing all his best thrifting tips on where to go for whatever you're hoping to find without having to spend too much on markup. It's Wednesday, June 12th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Jay, is it true that you go thrift shopping whenever you travel? Because you say it gives you like a sense of local culture.
Oh my God, yes. Like Tucson is a place to thrift. New Orleans is a place to thrift. Denver, Colorado. Like everywhere I go, I have to find a thrift store. Like you're like driving. I don't know, this is everybody, but like you're driving and you just like have an itch and you're just like, oh, there's a thrift store.
No, I don't know this personally, but it seems like this is how you're experiencing a new place. Well, if someone were to judge Portland just on our thrift stores, like what do you think they would say?
Oh, they would be like, oh, there's a lot and it's quirky and it's fun and it's cheap and some of it's broken and some of it's worth a lot of money, but it's interspersed. It's like a scavenger hunt of a lot.
Yeah. Well, what are the genres of thrift shops out there?
Okay. Well, first of all, hot take, a lot of people will lump in antique stores, consignment stores, Buffalo Exchange in thrifting. Hot take, not thrift stores. Different, beautiful, we support them, but you're not thrifting when you do that.
That's like vintage shopping.
Yeah, it's vintage. Consignment shops are also like, those are people who are picking and reselling and like they've already done the work. They've used their thrift store magic to find things and then they're like making a profit off of it, which is good. And like Buffalo Exchange, there is a moment in time when, we need an outfit and we need somebody else to do the work to find it and it's a good price. Great. But as far as like you're thrifting, you're out there looking for treasures, this is what I would define as the genres. Your bread and butter, Goodwill. So it's like every city's going to have a Goodwill. We love Goodwill. They're just going to have strengths. They're going to have weaknesses. Like the Sandy Goodwill is really awesome because, it's in Sandy. No one's going there. Same thing with like the coast or small towns. Like you can just find a Goodwill. It's organized. It's clean. Sometimes the prices are too much, but
sometimes I feel like Goodwill really... I feel like they discovered eBay and now they're just like, well, someone's going to pay $40 for this. And you're like, not here, sir. Not in this economy.
I mean, yes. A lot of people are like, whoa, the prices are insane. But then it's the same thing where it's like, well, somebody backstage is pricing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they know what they're doing. And a lot of times they don't,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to just rely on human error. And I like
You're saying
error.
luck. What I'm hearing is luck, Jay. Okay, so what do you think of Goodwill versus Value Village?
Oh, my God. Okay, well, the Goodwill is like the bread and butter. That's what you can always rely on. You can find good things there. You can find overpriced things there. Value Village, wonderful, huge. There's a secret Value Village in Tigard. And so then this gets to like, I have different loops around the cities or runs. Like there's the 82nd run, there's the Tigard run, there's Milwaukee. Vancouver is a thrift land of excellence. But Goodwill's kind of the standard. But then once you get kind of off-brand from Goodwill, because like they're the most like standard, clean, this is what you're going to get. Value Village, which is also owned or like is in a conglomerate with Savers. So like once you get into like the Southwest, like you'll see Savers and Value Village. Those are better and like way better prices than Goodwill with the same level of like organization and clean and whatnot. But like once you start going down the ladder, especially like the more religious the thrift store is, closer to God, the better the prices.
Oh, really?
So you're looking for like the most religious, in their heart, harboring the most bigotry for the best thrift store gold.
Oh my God.
There's a Union Gospel Mission in Tigard.
Yeah.
It's like, this is all for the Lord. And so like, they're not focused on making money per se. And they also just, they're all about God. And so they don't know, like, oh my gosh, that's a 1930s circus glass floor lamp for $7. Wonderful. And they're kind of like, hey, thank you for coming in here. And you're like, thank you for not knowing what this is.
Well, how would you approach these different genres? Because, you mentioned vintage shops, you mentioned, stores like Goodwill, but you didn't mention estate sales, which I know are like a beast of their own.
Ooh.
What's your approach for each one?
Oh.
Like, give some tips for people who are just like, all right, how do I get the best deals and the best stuff for each one?
Well, tips across the board is just manifest. Like, what do you need? Like, necessity is the mother of all invention and thrifting. So it's like, if you're like, I need this, just manifest it there. Or like, I don't want to like go to Target and pay $20. I want to find it at Goodwill for $4. So need-based shopping, that's what I would approach with that. I'd also like start buying clothes to be tailored. Everyone should have a tailor. And so it's like, if you're thrifting a dress shirt or like a nice shirt for $7.99 and the tailoring costs 15 to 20, that's still less than what you would pay at Nordstrom Rack. And it's like a unique shirt that you like, that you found, and you're like getting a deal on it, and it's bespoke to your body. So that's another tip I have. Every thrift store, first thing that you do when you walk in is like check the deal of the day. There's always like a color that's half off or whatnot. That can affect your shopping, because it's like, you could be like, well, I don't really need this puffy vest. I'm going to put it back. And then you're like, wait a minute. Blue color tag half off. I'm going to buy it. I always needed it. I needed this, and so then you can like silence the reasonable voice in your head of like, you don't need this, need versus want. But estate sales, I mean, I wouldn't even put them into thrifting, but I would like, they're on the same shelf and they're a whole different beast. This is where you can start to haggle. This is where you can start to bundle things. And an estate sale, there's a beautiful website, estatesalefinder.com. It is very old. I think it was made in the Bronze Age. It has never been updated. But
are there like dancing babies at the bottom?
Oh my God. No, it's like text only, like nothing moves. It's really old. But that is where it is happening for Portland and like Oregon, Multnomah County estate sales.
Okay.
And I thought, like, I went somewhere else and I was like, oh, I'll plug in this zip code and see what estate sale. No, estatesalefinder.com is just for us. So like, it is, somebody made it for our area.
Wow.
It's old as hell, but it is where like the listings are current, they're good, and that's where everyone's going. And so I'll just, you go on estatesalefinder.com and you look at the photos first. And so you get a sense of style. Like what kind of style did this person have? Were they an elevated person? Did they like hardwood furniture? Were they cheap and stupid? Like, I mean, some of it is like a waste of time. Are they really into dolls and things that I'm not into? Yeah, no, I'm not going to be there. Oh, they have a beautiful record collection and that 1950s credenza. Wow, I think I need to go there. But don't go there until like 3 hours to closing on Sunday. Because Sunday, everything's half off usually. And if you go to an estate sale on a Sunday and it's not half off, walk out the door. But everything's already half off already. And so then, you go through the whole house, and then also all the crazy like resellers, shop owners, consignment people, antique people, they were there at 5 a.m. day one. And so you've avoided all of them, and you're not going to compete with them. You're not going to be able to outprice them. So they got all the good stuff, but they paid top dollar for it. Now it's like the people who run this place, they're tired, and they're getting down to the point where anything that's not sold, they have to pick up and lift out of this place. And so you just have to take advantage of that. And another tip I have for estate sales, figure out like visually who is running this place. Like, and kind of, if you can figure out of the staff, like who's actually the boss, and just go up and like give them a compliment about this estate sale. And, maybe start with like, wow, this is such a beautiful house. Great. And then be like, hey, thanks so much for, this is so organized. Thank you so much. Anything. And they'll immediately be like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because usually everybody else is like spitting in their face. And if you just show some patient appreciation in a calm moment, and then you go shopping, that registers at the register. And so, and then they like, because they can decide anything. They decide on the prices on all of this. And especially when if you have a whole bunch of stuff, you have like a signature item that you really want, but then you've gotten some light bulbs and an extension cord and half a bottle of bleach and like, oh, this little kitchen
Half
thing.
a bottle of bleach.
Because old people have bought everything that you need for your house already. And then they died. And so that's another tip. Shop for your house at the estate sale, and then you have the signature item. And you're like, how about all of this for like, I don't know, $20? And they're like, yeah. And another trick you could do is you buy the whole thing. They already gave you a deal. This happened to me once where it's like, bottle of stuff. And there's this just beautiful frame. And it was a big frame, beautiful piece of artwork. And I was like, wow, that's so nice. Yeah. Hey, can I make an offer on that? I was like, oh, yeah, what? And then just say, and it's going to be a low offer. And they're like, well, what? And I was like, how about $10? And they're like, okay, just take it. And I walked out with this like gorgeous, beautiful, huge piece of artwork with this like vintage Asian alcohol like advertisement from the 50s, like already framed perfectly. And then now I just got a deal on it because nobody was willing to pay the price that they had set. So those are some tips I have for estate sales is like, compliment the owner, get to know the owners. It will translate later in line. Wait for that owner to be at the register versus their other person because the other person doesn't know you and like also doesn't have the authority to hook you up. Bundle everything together and just be like, oh yeah, I'm here. I shopped. I found all this stuff. How about we do a little price for everything?
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we return, Jay's biggest thrift score. What's the biggest score you've ever had thrifting?
I've been waiting for this question my whole life. I have a list.
The best one, like the biggest score.
The biggest? Okay. It's an Ayasi percolator, like a coffee maker.
Okay.
It's an Italian brand. It's high end. I didn't know about it. I went camping. A woman introduced me. I was like, what is this? And she's like, and it's an Ayasi. It's the best. Like, it was a gift from my mother. I could never afford it. And I like learned what it was. It was amazing. It's design perfection. Makes the best cup of coffee. And like 4 days after that camping trip, I'm in Goodwill and there's one on the shelf. I buy it for $7. I go home, I look it up. It is $270.
Oh my God.
And I used it every day since.
That was at Goodwill?
That was at Goodwill.
Wow. Which one?
Probably the best Goodwill in Portland, which is the Superstore on Grand.
Well, how often do you buy something, then you get it home and you're just like, oh God, why?
I'd say like 20%, but like the life of a thrifter, you have to just like easy come, easy go. I can let this go or I can upgrade. And so if in my thrift journey in my life, I already have this, but this is better, buy it and then like donate the old one back to the goddess of thrifting.
Well, you mentioned a few, but what are some like thrift stores you would recommend in the Portland area? Like, can you name out a few where you're just like, all right, if you're going to start,
yes,
like this is where you want to go?
Okay, so Portland proper thrift stores. I've done the research, so you don't have to. The Superstore on Grand is the best Goodwill in Portland, but Lombard Goodwill and Broadway Goodwill are very good as well. And then also in Portland proper, Northwest Temple House is incredible. And so like that one for Portlanders, like this is a great place because one, it kind of hits like a trifecta of like it's religious, so it's reasonably priced. It's in Northwest. It's the only thrift store like worth going to or at all in Northwest, but it's also like in a rich neighborhood. So there's like a trickle down effect. And it's a really good place for rugs, furniture.
Oh my God, did you say trickle down? Oh my God, did you just prove Reagan correct?
In thrifting, yes. Those are the 4 in Portland proper that are like worth your time. and worth like going to regularly. Now, if you're going to get adventurous, Vancouver, you can do a 5 thrift store loop in Vancouver and it's incredible. But I just want to highlight one thrift store. It's a one-off. It's its only thing. It's called Retails, and it's an animal shelter or like for the animals cause thrift store. It's huge. It is the best thrift store in the Portland metropolitan area if you're willing to go to Vancouver.
And pay tax?
A little bit, but I'm down. Now, if you're also willing to go like into the suburbs, which is where, you're going to find things, the Milwaukee kind of run, Red, White, and Blue is the second best thrift store in the Portland metropolitan area. So that's like Milwaukee, and there's Goodwill out there, so you can go out there. It's amazing. So if you're going to go to some thrift stores, the best is Retails in Vancouver. Second best is Red, White, and Blue in Milwaukee. And then the third best is an 82nd run, which you can hit like 3 or 4 thrift stores on 82nd. And that is Desiree Industries. And that is, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints oriented thrift store. And you can also haggle at Desiree Industries. And you can also haggle a little bit, I would say, in general, in any non-Goodwill, non-corporate-y place. Definitely been like, hey, this is like $8. How about $6? And they're like, okay.
This is really helpful. I feel like this should help someone get them on their way. Last question. Jay, you're a comedian, so I'm just going to put you on the spot here. What's your best thrift store joke? Do you have a bit?
Well, I found myself in a thrift store fitting room.
Already funny.
I'm a large person, and so it's like I try to thrift everything, but if it's like pants, I have to try it on. And so I found myself, 1 foot in a pair of pants, about ready to put a second, and I looked down in the middle of those pants, and there was like a shit stain, just dead center. And I just stopped, and I was like, were these pants donated this way? Or did some other giant try them on and leave their mark?
What?
Anyway, they fit perfectly. I bought them. So yeah, there you go.
You bought poop-stained pants? Jay, I feel like no one's going to listen to you now. Everyone's like, well, he's clearly insane.
It also could be a joke.
You're like, it's a joke, lady.
Yeah, in reality, I took my foot out of there and kicked them under the door.
Wait, did it really happen though?
Yeah, oh my God. All of my entire stand-up is based off of just like my real life.
Oh my God. But who would who would just be like, yeah, that's something we'll sell? I think your second option is the thing that happened. I think, like the call came from inside the house,
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we'll never know. A question for the philosophers.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us and sharing your knowledge. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for asking me. I've been waiting for this day for my entire life.
I'm pretty sure you haven't. Just a minor correction, Jay mentioned the Red, White, and Blue thrift store is in Milwaukee, but it's actually a little further down in Gladstone. You can also catch Jay performing this Friday night at 9:30 p.m. over at the Curious Comedy Annex Theater. Also, another reminder that we'll be taking part in Northeast Cully Sunday Parkways this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. over at Fernhill Park on Northeast 37th Avenue. We'll also have free CityCast Portland stickers and a chance for you to take part in future episodes. Ride your bike over and say hello. We'd love to meet you. Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.